You are now listening to Protecting Your Nest with board-certified family medicine and obesity medicine specialist Dr. Tony Hampton. For more, visit drtonyhampton.com. Hello and welcome to Protecting Your Nest with Dr. Tony Hampton, where each week I hope to educate you about the benefits of learning how to identify and reverse the many root causes of chronic disease. We will together walk towards your ideal state, the state you've always desired, by understanding how to identify root cause. Today, I'm very excited because I have a patient by the name of Royzell Johnson who has been very successful at implementing a low-carb, high-fat diet to achieve his health-related goals. In order to be successful on your personal journey, I think it's very important you hear how other people on a similar journey think as a way to align with the mindset of success. Royzell just gets it, and I kind of knew that from the moment I met him. As a physician who focuses on nutrition, I do my very best to incorporate dietary recommendations into my office visits, since I found through my experience that lifestyle is what moves the needle. Simply treating health conditions with medications has and never will be effective. Why? Because after doing research, I realized that lifestyle just works better because it addresses the root cause of why we get sick. You know, it's very interesting because I looked at my health system and I realized they had this diabetes prevention program. So I got involved with that program, and I work for Advocate Healthcare. It's really Advocate Aurora Healthcare in the Chicagoland area. And what I found is that they took these borderline diabetics and they were able to prevent them from progressing to diabetes. Now, this is the part you're going to love. What they did is they looked at a study that was done in 2002, around that time. And in this study, they took these groups of borderline diabetics, and what they did is they found that if you put them on metformin, many of you are familiar with that drug, they had a 31% lack of progression to diabetes, which is great. This is the crazy, outstanding part, though. Then they had another group who were doing lifestyle changes, and in that group, they had a 58% reduction in progression to diabetes. And then for those patients who were over the age of 60, only 71% of those patients didn't progress to diabetes. So when I learned about this study, I knew that I had to find a way to incorporate lifestyle into my patient interactions. Once I did that, that's when all the magic happened. And for Mr. Johnson, who saw me on a Saturday, I knew he was a new patient, so I was able to put him at the end of my schedule so I would have time to educate him. Unfortunately, that's not the usual that I would be able to do that. So finding alternative ways to educate my patients is something I've been passionate about. Rather that's YouTube videos or doing podcasts. So that way people have a way to learn this information. So before I ask you to introduce yourself, Mr. Johnson, I want to remind my listeners that I have created 2 YouTube videos that explain the why and the how of eating a low-carb diet. I created these videos as kind of a workaround so that my patients would have a quick way to get the basics of how to eat low carb and why they should do that. So if you want to look at those videos, just Google or go to YouTube and look up my name, Dr. Tony Hampton, or you can look for the titles of those videos. One is called Why Adopt a Low Carb Diet, The Science, and the other is called How to Adopt a Low Carb, High Fat Diet. So having said all of that, Mr. Johnson, do me a favor, and as we get started, introduce yourself by telling us a little bit about your background, you know, where you live, and what type of work you do.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon. My name is Royzell Johnson. I'm from Miami, Florida. Um, I'm a barber. I've been cutting hair for like over 20 years. And, a young man that's been fighting obesity like all my life. And Dr. Hampton has been a great asset to my journey. And, I took a trip to Chicago from Miami, you know, just to sit in his presence to gain knowledge and understanding about the things that I was suffering with my body. And, it was a privilege and an honor just
And
to
Mr.
sit in front
Johnson,
of
real
him.
quick before you comment, I don't see too many patients coming from Miami all the way to Chicago to see me. So I'm sure the audience is like, what is he doing coming all the way from Miami? So tell us a little bit about how we ended up connecting like that.
Well, we connected because my brother, well, I was dealing with an issue with my health, and I gave my brother a call, and I was like, "Yo, I need some assistance. I need your help, man. I'm trying to find, knowledge and understanding about what's going on with my body." And my brother, Royzell Johnson, who's the president of, like, I think Trinity Hospital up there in
Yep. And South
Chicago.
Suburban Hospital, these are Advocate Aurora hospitals on the south side of Chicago.
Right. So my brother was like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring you up here. I want you to see my doctor. He's a great doctor. He's a good guy. He's very knowledgeable, and I think he'll be a great help to what you're going through." So he flew me out. I got there. It was like you got to stay for like 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, hey, whatever it takes. So once I got up there, we arranged the appointment. We got right down to business, and Dr. Hampton invited me on a Saturday, which he told me that he don't usually do things like that like on a Saturday because I mean Saturday is the weekend. But I was honored that he took me. So when I went in, everybody was nice. Did blood work, went home, and I was so surprised because it was like, yo, I did blood work Friday, I think, and came back Saturday and the results was in. I was like, wow, I didn't know that the return would be so fast. So when I came back to the doctor's office and I got a chance to meet Dr. Hampton, great guy by the way. Um, I just appreciate how he sat me down and I explained to him what was going on with me and what I was dealing with, being a heavyweight guy, obesity and trying to lose weight. I just didn't have no understanding. I didn't have let's say guidance, or I didn't have a way out. I didn't know what to do. I needed help. So I needed real help. And he took the time to sit me down and he gave me a plan. That's when he first introduced me to the keto way of life.
Let me ask you a question, not to interrupt, but
No
you
problem.
you mentioned that you didn't know what to do, and so when you interacted with other healthcare professionals, how much information did you get about lifestyle?
It really wasn't the information. They really weren't giving me the information that I needed to go on to help me succeed with my journey. It was just more of diagnosis. Hey, you're obese. You got high blood pressure. Take this medication. Do this, do that. But it was never a plan like to rid me of high blood pressure, or how do I conquer, going from having high blood pressure to controlling it, because I didn't know how to control it. It's like high blood pressure, but I mean, you telling me, I got to control it, but what do I have to do? What steps do I have to take to control my high blood pressure? And I didn't, it wasn't giving me the knowledge that I needed. And
Okay. Did you feel now they did try to refer you to other team members that could give you some information about these things, correct?
correct, correct. Um, it did, but I just feel like it wasn't. It was more of give them the medicine, take this. This will help. Let's see, guinea pig.
Right, right,
Basically, let's
right.
try. Let's try this. If this don't work, okay. Well, let's higher. Let's raise the dosage on this, or let's lower the dosage on that. And it's just like experiment.
So you felt like you were kind of on your own, you were a guinea pig. And one thing I
Right.
will say about our current health system is that it is structured in such a way that how we're compensated requires us to be efficient. So we can't, spend 30 minutes talking about nutrition. It's also designed from a Western medicine perspective where we focus on you diagnose the condition. If you diagnose the condition, you're a good doctor, and then you treat with medicine and or surgery. That's the current model, and part of the purpose of this podcast and the other work that we're going to be doing. I really appreciate you coming aboard and sharing your story because I think it'll resonate with people. Is that we want to shift it to a model where we say, okay, you have blood pressure or diabetes or whatever it is. And instead of just saying, here's a pill, and we may need a pill temporarily or whatever the medication or treatment is. But the real question is, why do you have high blood pressure? Why do you have diabetes? And that's a complete paradigm shift from a current model. And so some of the docs that are out there, and whether it's an advanced practice nurse or a physician's assistant or a doctor, they're trained in that model, and then they're also trained to then refer people to other team members who we do love and respect. We want our pharmacists and nurses and all of them and our nutrition people to all play a role. The issue that I find, and what really shifted the paradigm for me, is that I realized that if I didn't fully engage in that process as well, in other words, instead of just saying here's a nutrition person, I also need to give nutrition advice because ultimately, and we have great rapport. What happens is if I also am part of the teaching team, then I think there's more meat on a bone. There's more likely that you're going to follow through. So it sounds like you felt like you were kind of on your own, and that's just a horrible feeling. So let me ask you, when you think about when I started talking to you about eating low carb, high fat, had you heard of keto or low carb, high fat? And were you afraid of this ideal of eating fat when we've been told for the last 40 years, and I'll explain that in those YouTube videos when you guys watch it, but that we've been told that you got to go low fat. So what went through your mind when you were told by this doctor to eat fat? What did that feel like for you?
Um, I was desperate, so I mean, just like, I was willing to give it a try, because I mean what I've been going through and what, I was diagnosed with, it was like, yo, you gotta do something. You gotta do something now. There's no waiting. So when I got introduced to the keto, I haven't heard. I mean, I heard of it, but I never like really had knowledge of it. I didn't understand, until he sat me down and broke it down to me. And it was like, you gotta eat. You eat fats. I'm like, eat fats. What you mean eat fats? So you mean I can eat bacon and all the fatty foods and stuff that I'm supposed to eat? That's what I was told. You know. So I mean, hey, once I got knowledge of it and understanding, I
Gotcha.
haven't looked back. and I'm still going forward right now. Like I apply it to my everyday
I
living.
guess the next logical
You know,
question would be when you adopted this type of eating, which, if you can get past the fear, which it sounds like you were desperate, so you got past the fear, how difficult was it to start that diet? And how difficult has it been to maintain that diet?
well, as soon as I sat down and I was able to have some insight on what it is I have to do, what it is I need to do. I was off and running. I didn't even hesitate. When I went to Chicago, I was weighing 392. Now, mind you, I used to be 456 pounds. So I lost weight already all the way down to 392. So when I got to Chicago, I was 392. And, after the meeting with Dr. Hampton, I went to my brother's house and, we went to Walmart and we just went and got everything we need. We like, listen, hey, we finna start right now. There's no waiting tomorrow. It's today. Hey, and I seen results like instantly, man. It was it was crazy. It was like unbelievable. It was scary. Like I'm still like taking grasp of this thing because the weight loss that I'm losing right now is tremendous and it's moving at a great rate.
So what did you mean when you said it was immediate, when you say you saw results? So are we just talking about weight loss, or what did you experience that was so sudden?
My high blood pressure, my it went down. It started going down. I was seeing numbers. I'm used to my blood pressure being like 190 over like 110, 198, sometimes 200, And I'm not knowing until the doc told me, it's not because of the salt. It's the inflammation that's in the blood. You eating food that, what I'm saying, that's inflamed, in your arteries. And once you get rid of that kind of food and you start, you know, so it was like the first thing I saw was my blood pressure drop. I was like whoa, like because I'm used to seeing high numbers, and it's like I saw results like instantly.
Wow, that's
Like
impressive.
wow, that's
I'm gonna tell
crazy.
you why. Because
Yeah,
when I treat diabetics, they pretty much see results fairly quickly. And I always tell patients it may take a little longer for your blood pressure, but I think that nugget that you got from, so I'm assuming during our meeting, I explained why your pressure is high. And I think for the audience, I just want to quickly say that so that they won't miss that nugget. And I literally didn't learn this in, in medical school or in my residency. I learned, I was
right,
told that it's about, your blood pressure is about salt and, and you got to make sure you're being compliant with your medicine. And I was also told that you're going to be on medicine for the rest of your life once you have high blood pressure. And, they say you eat better and you exercise, but this
right,
is what I want the audience to hear, which is probably what I told you on that Saturday. Um,
right.
I said to you that, as you just articulated, that it was about inflammation. And it's like music to my ears when I just had a conversation with you. And now, I don't know how long it's been how long has it been since we saw each other?
Going on like I think like 3 to 4 months.
Right. So think about it, those who are listening. I've only had a relationship with this gentleman from Miami, and shout out to Miami. I'm very jealous, by the way. If it wasn't for the summer, I'd be extremely jealous. But, only 3 to 4 months, and yet it's a game changer. And by the way, one more question before I comment on hypertension. You said 392. Do you have a sense of where you are with your weight now?
Right now I'm like 366.
Okay, so almost wow. So we're getting close to that 30 pounds since we met. That's amazing. So just for those who are listening, it's very possible when you focus on lifestyle. So let's go back to the hypertension real quick. So yes, is salt important? Absolutely. If you have a stiff pipe and it has water in it and you put salt in it, it's gonna make that pipe kind of expand. So salt attracts more water and it'll make your pressure high if you have stiff arteries, right? And it's also true that if you have cholesterol trying to repair an inflamed artery, then it's going to clog up the artery. The key is not to focus on the salt or the cholesterol, but to focus on why is the artery inflamed in the first place, right? And that's where we drop the ball in healthcare, is that we focus on what happened after the fact. And what we talked about is the fact that you have something in your arterial walls called these cells, these endothelial cells that produce nitric oxide. And most of the listeners know that nitric oxide is like nitroglycerin. That's what we take if we're having chest pain to open up our arteries. So what they need to understand is that if you're inflamed, you're going to stop making nitric oxide in those endothelial cells, and you're going to get a stiff artery. So, and if you have a stiff artery, it's going to be irritated, inflamed, and of course the salt's going to affect it and the cholesterol. But the real issue is what caused the inflammation. And the big message for anybody listening is to know that the main sources of dietary inflammation come from starchy vegetables, sugary food, and the one that throws people off is the grains. So the grains are a source of inflammation for a lot of people who are insulin resistant, and that's maybe 2 out of every 3 adult Americans. So the key is if I go to the root cause and I reduce the inflammation by changing my diet, then even if you ingest salt, you will not have a high blood pressure because your artery will just expand. And even if you think about your cholesterol, it won't bother you because there's nothing to repair. It'll tuck point your arteries because you have a brick house instead of stucco your brick house with all this plaster. So that's how you want to think about it. I'm just really impressed that you remembered that talking point because you know I explain stuff, but I think a lot of it is how you can visualize it. And if you think about tuck pointing and things like that, it'll help you to visualize that. But another thing I know we brought up during that interview, you mentioned, you were worried about your kidneys. So what did you discover about your kidneys as you've taken this journey?
Okay. Well, being that I had high blood pressure for so long and it was uncontrolled, I had got diagnosed with stage 3 kidney disease. So, when I heard that, I was like, I was like straight panic mode. My mind was like, oh God, I need help. I damaged my body. I don't know what to do, and it's scary, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like if I would have knew how to control the blood pressure, I probably would have never got to this stage, you know? And
Yeah. Did you
so
know
everybody,
anything about diabetes and how that'll also increase your risk for kidney disease before this was told to you?
right, yes, I heard that diabetes will most definitely enhance, the issue. But I was only diagnosed with high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes.
Okay,
So,
gotcha. So let's think about this for a moment. So if you think about the kidneys, the question is what harms the kidneys? A lot of times we think about things like lupus, which definitely can harm the kidneys. We think about other types of weird conditions, but the reality is the number one cause of kidney failure is diabetes. And I would argue, don't have the book in front of me, but I'd say about 80 out of 100 people who get a diagnosis of kidney failure got it from diabetes. Now, but most diabetics also have hypertension, but you could argue maybe another 10%, getting us up to 90%, when you combine those two diagnoses, those are the two major causes. And then you can take that 10% that's left and think about those things like lupus. But the bottom line is absolutely want to control your blood sugar and your blood pressure so you won't have to worry about kidney failure. And I think for you, it sounds like that was a pretty scary diagnosis to imagine that you potentially have. Is that correct?
Right.
Is
And
there
I mean,
other things about like other diagnoses that you think about that really scare you that you wouldn't want to get when you think about your blood pressure or about diabetes?
I mean, I have a history of diabetes in my family, and excuse me, and high blood pressure.
Wow.
So it's like, hey, I don't want none of that. But that's like I've been dealing with high blood pressure all my life.
Okay. Do
I
you
would have never.
have is there other like when I think about diabetes, I think about blindness, I think about kidney failure, I think about amputations, I think about heart attacks, I think about strokes. Any of those things resonate with you in terms of what's going on in the family?
Yeah, I mean it does, because I don't see a lot of people, die from heart attacks and strokes and just not taking care of yourself and not even having the understanding, that I have. I was blessed to get, and yeah, it's very scary, man. It's very scary, but I'm like, hey, I got kids. I got to live for my kids, and I want to be here to see them, have kids and have a family. So it's like you got to take control of the situation. You can't let the situation take control of you. I can't just run scared. You know what I'm saying? I got to put my best foot forward, and
Okay.
I just got to be knowledgeable, and I just got to keep the faith and keep God first, and keep grinding. I ain't gonna let this take over me.
And I appreciate you because you sent me some images, and I'll remind you guys at the end of this conversation. But we are gonna leave this podcast and have a little bit of a Facebook Live because I really thought it would be nice to share some of those images of your journey. And so if anybody's wanting to hear more from Royzell, I would actually encourage you to go to YouTube and Facebook, and you'll see uh, the extended version of the conversation because I know. Tell me a little bit about the family. Like there's two questions I have. Introduce your family to the audience. I want to know kids, wife, ages, and then I want to understand how this is impacting your family life in terms of how they perceive you and how it's made things, different, better, worse. Are the kids fussing about how you're eating? Are they eating this way? Tell me a little bit about who they are first and then how it's impacted things at home.
Well, I have two kids, two sons. Sorry, I have two sons, Isaiah and Ivan, and it's crazy because it's like my sons are like the spitting image of me and my brother. Because my brother, he's a slender guy, and I'm the heavy set one. And my sons are the same way. And my older son, he's heavy set, and my younger son, he's the slim guy. So it's like, you gotta. It's like being that I didn't have control or understanding how to eat and what to eat. It's like it was bad examples for my kids. It's like we're going to fast food joints, Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, all the crap that's not good, that's not healthy. And their mom, she's Dominican, so she's from the island, and where she from, they eat a lot of rice, a lot of bread, a lot of starch, these starchy foods, and we're no longer together, but where we were, it was like I was constantly eating starchy foods, and it just got out of control because they're making big pots, good food. So my sons, they eat good food, big pots. And it's like, yo, you can't eat like this. This is not the way. Because if not, you're gonna have a history of bad health growing up. So it's like, yo, I gotta be I gotta take control of the situation to be the leader, so they can see, that you gotta change. You gotta eat your fruits and vegetables. You gotta eat right, man. Not you're gonna be unhealthy. You're gonna be healthy. And I love my sons. They very active. With some active kids. They're good kids. One is 12. Isaiah is 12, and Ivan is 10. Like 2 years apart. But and it's crazy because my mom is very slim. My mom taught home economics for over 30 something years, like 36, 37 years. She's a retired teacher. And, she is very slim. So it's like crazy. It's like, so where did I go wrong? You know? And it was like, yo, when I was growing up, my mom, she always made us eat our vegetables, and, she always cooked good food, and but it was no control, you know, because once you get a certain age and once you start eating that food like that, when your parents are around, you're gonna eat anyway, regardless. You're gonna go in the refrigerator 1, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. You're gonna go in the refrigerator and make your sandwiches, two, three, two, three
Right.
sandwiches, you know. And it's like I see the same thing that I used to do when I was younger. My son do it. So I was
Right.
like, I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to go check him in. Making sandwiches or making some ramen noodles in the microwave.
Right.
And, it's like, yo, you can't be eating this time of night because you're going to eat this food. You're going to go back and lay down on it. They're playing the game. And it's like, so in order for me to help them, I have to help me.
Wow.
I have to lead by example. You
I
know.
love it. Did you, when you started, and again, we'll be sharing some of those images that you shared with me about the food you're eating, which was, beautiful. I got hungry looking at them. I mean, I really did. I was like, this guy gets it. And that's without me, it's not like I went to your house and showed you how to cook.
Right,
It
right,
was like
right,
you
right.
figured it out, and I appreciate that. But so is this like the whole family doing this now?
Yeah, the whole family is eating good. It's a lot of more fruits. My wife, she cauliflower rice, chicken. Matter of fact, she in the oven baking right now. She baking some ribs. She
Yes.
baking ribs with no
So
no
what's the
sauce,
chances? No, that's what I'm about to ask you. What's the
no
chances you'll put
sauce.
barbecue? Let me say this out loud. Shout out to all the barbecue sauce makers in the world,
Right,
Sweet
right,
Baby
right,
Ray, all of them. But 16 carbs and 2 tablespoons on average, which is the equivalent of 4 teaspoons of sugar. And that's, I remember when we used
uh,
to go to the little rib place. I don't know if they had the rib place in Miami, but man,
right,
you go to a rib place and they
right.
would throw them. They put so much sauce on those ribs, and it, of course, it had to be laying on a bed of
Yes.
bread and some
Yep.
French fries,
Right.
doused in barbecue sauce. I don't even
Right.
want to know how
Right.
many tablespoons of sugar I was eating. It
Right.
was so good just thinking about it now,
Right.
because sugar
Right.
is an addiction. Starch is an
Right.
addiction. It just puts moisture in your mouth thinking about it.
Right.
But
Right.
man, feeling good and being good with that is way more important. And so it
Right.
sounds like you made this change. Was there pushback, from your wife? Was there pushback from the kids?
Of course, it's a little pushback because they are accustomed to eating what they eat, and
Right.
it's like you making a life change.
Yeah.
You have to take your time and adjust. This is something that's got to be worked on. You can't just like put it in a life. Like you got to gradually do it until they take hold to it and get understanding of it because they used to the salt and the sugar.
Right. Right.
If you growed up just eating salt and sugar, you want everything with salt and sugar. It's like you used to open up the bag of chips and the dip and the granola bars and the Rice Krispie treats and all the stuff that's not good, and they still learning, ain't nobody
Right.
perfect,
It's a
and
process.
yes, process and try to implement more fruits and apples, pears, good stuff, watermelon.
I got some good news for you with that. I think that if you're as fortunate as I was, so I had, I have two kids. They're older, they're college age. And thank you for making me feel older, by the way.
Oh
But
no,
it is what it is, right? But,
right,
but so they both came home. I think it was in the summer, and they both decided to adopt a low carb lifestyle, right? And
right,
so they went back, and they both were doing okay, but
right,
the youngest had never gotten, basically, I don't even know if I should say this on air, but let's just say he had a B plus average,
right.
and the oldest had never gotten essentially straight A's. Now, and I asked him, I said, so what did it for you? And they said, and by the way, they make, keto cheesecakes. You know how teenagers and young adults are. They're trying to say, I'm gonna eat this, but I need to taste really good. So they do all kinds of creative stuff. So I said, what's the
Right.
difference? And what they said, and I'm curious if this happened to you, they said that their mental clarity was through the charts. Like they actually didn't get tired. They had mental clarity. So my son, who was notorious for sleeping, the youngest sleeping in the bed, shout out to my youngest son, Justin. I'm sorry about that. Put that on the airways. He was notorious for falling asleep while sitting in the bed studying, and I think a lot of us like to sit in the bed because it's comfortable. However, he said that he could be in the bed all day now and he wouldn't fall asleep because it's mental clarity. So I don't know I know when I started doing low carb, high fat or keto, whatever we like to call it, my mental clarity, and as a physician, that's important, shot through the roof. Did you notice any of that?
Yes, because I used to be tired. Like I used to walk around tired all the time. You couldn't get me to take out the trash too much. It's like it was just the weight had took control. And it was like, yo, the tiredness that I'm feeling is exhausted. It's crazy. I sit on the chair and I watch TV and 2 minutes I'm asleep. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Wow.
like out of there, yeah. So it's like once I started implementing the keto in my life, man, it gave me more energy. I'm moving around a lot, and I still have ways to go because I haven't reached my goal, but I have it was like the push. I have more push. I have more get up and go. Like it is like, get up, get yourself up, man. You got to go do it and it's no hesitation. It's almost like,
Right.
around the clock. It's easy now. I used to, when I cut hair, so
Right.
I had the barber shop, standing for long periods of hours, I couldn't stand that long because I was very heavy. So I used to keep a stool next
Right.
to my barber chair. I used to cut hair sitting on the stool. And it's crazy, like, because now I stand like 12 hours and I don't sit down.
You
Hmm
don't have, do you still have the stool?
Nah, I don't have the stool no more.
That's insanity.
And I used to have an ankle bracelet on. I wore an ankle bracelet on my right ankle for some years, man. I don't even use an ankle bracelet no
You know what? First of all, shout out to all the barbers. We sure missed y'all during
more.
COVID. I mean, we all
That's
looking
right.
like wolf men, you know what I mean? And
Right, man.
if you never appreciated your barber, right? Oh my God. And for me as for those who, I don't know what it's like in all cultures, but man, I tell you, going to a barber shop, we're both African American,
Right.
for those who don't know, but going to a barber shop is like culture. I would go to a barber shop if I was bald just to be in that environment. It's just
Right,
a
right,
cultural
right, right.
thing. It's where the
Right.
guys go and talk crazy. We argue about
hmm
Kevin Durant and,
Right, right,
Clay Thompson and should they have played, shouldn't they
right.
have played? And it's just, and so I just want to do a shout out. you don't realize how valuable people are in your life until you can't get with them. And one of the things about and I love my barber. Shout out to my barber. My barber in the Chicago area, his name is Jamie. I appreciate him and what he does, and he's on a journey as well. And I think we're
That's
all
right.
trying to get to a better place. But that is
That's
really, I just was curious. How all this stuff has been, when you think about going back to what we were talking about, like, so you got more energy. So
right.
has that added some things to your plate that you now are going to do or doing that you hadn't been
Oh
doing
man.
before this? So tell me about
I
that.
mean, well, Monday through Thursdays, me and my wife, we ride the bikes for like a couple of miles, for like an hour and a half. That's
Okay.
Monday through Thursday. Early in the morning, I go to the gym, give me about 45 minutes in just to wake my body up. I drink a lot of water. I don't drink nothing but water. I mean, my energy level is very it's therapeutic. Is hey man, it's like I can't thank you enough. And yeah, I play with my kids more. We go out, we have fun, we do, father and son stuff. Before I was tired, like, come on, Dad, you want to go here? And I'm dragging, like, hey, man, okay. But
That is
now
amazing.
it's like,
You're
come
ready
on,
to
let's
go.
go.
You ready?
Yeah, come on.
You know, what I want to say about that. So, already that I'm in school. I'm at University of Western States. I'm studying
Right,
nutrition because I
right,
want to know this stuff cold blooded. And it's so funny because I even argue with them sometimes because I know recently, like when I was looking at my last class, which kind of intro to functional medicine, which deals with root cause, by the way, for those who don't know. And they in the text it does say reduce saturated fat. Right now, I knew before I started this training that that was not correct because a lot of the studies that were done were called epidemiological studies. And those types of studies are literally, they just send you a frequency food questionnaire. And they just ask you if I asked you, what you ate 8 months ago, you probably would be guessing. And so they send these studies out, get the results, and then they publish stuff saying meat's bad for you or whatever, which is just horrible studies that only show association and not causation. So I just I don't know. It's just fascinating to hear you talk about this, and I just it just makes me really just think about for lack of knowledge, where would we be? And I'm just happy that that knowledge is now there. So
I mean, I pretty much take it one day at a time. I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always, looking into things, and on YouTube, checking your channel out, and I'm always seeking information, man, because this thing it's a lifestyle change. It ain't just a change for 2 3 months. It's like you got to continue this way. You want to live. This is what you have to do. And I have a set goal that I want to reach. I want to get down to like I'm like 5'11", so I want to
mhm.
get to close as possible to my average weight that I should be for my height. You know, and
I think you
hell,
will. I think you will. I think you just have to. It's just I always tell patients you just lay a brick every day and
yeah,
eventually you'll build a wall and eventually a house. I think the key is to keep the right behaviors in place, and it sounds like you have a team. I mean, you said your wife was
right,
cooking right now,
right.
and shout,
Mm-hmm.
let her know we're gonna all everybody listening showing love to your wife, and I think it's a team sport. And
Right,
then I think it builds on itself. I think even being on this podcast creates a little accountability, right? So it's like the
right,
world
right, right,
now will know who you are, and now you
right.
have that going on. But that's okay because if that's going to get me to the next place I need to go in life, that's fine. So you're
I'm
doing the barber
actually,
thing. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I'm gonna cut you off, but I'm actually doing. I have a documentary that's in progress. Like from the beginning where I came from to right now, and it's going to be on YouTube. So we're working on that because I want to
Really?
be able to.
Is it
Yeah, I
dealing
want to
with
be able to.
your life journey as a whole or
Ye-
dealing with your
Right.
journey as relate your whole
No,
journey?
it's no, it's well, it's gonna be my whole journey, but it's really more inspiring because I have a lot of friends that's heavy set, big guys,
Right.
and they looking at me now because man, listen, I was a big guy, and like they looking at me now like, yo, man, you dropping this weight, boy, you looking good, like what you doing, like so
Right.
like I want to just I want to create a documentary on, just showing what I did. Like this wasn't just something that, I just, I'm just talking about it, bragging on. This tough, this everyday thing. And I have my nephew. He's the cameraman, so we gonna take him a day in the life. Every day waking up with me and going to the gym, even me cooking in the kitchen, me dealing with my family and my sons, trying to get them motivated to be the best that they can be,
That's
to
right.
live healthy. And I just want to tell that story because I know it's a lot of people that need to hear that, or it can inspire others. You know, and that's what
It,
I want to do. I want to inspire others because I go on YouTube and get inspired by others as well. Right now, I look at other people's journey and stories, and it give me push. I be like, when I feel like I'm lazy, I go on YouTube or I watch what it is, my 600 pound life, and I just be seeing them people struggling. Like, wow, man,
right.
like
Right.
it's people in worse shape than I am. You know, that's really can't even. Can't do nothing for themselves, can't wash themselves, can't clean themselves, can't
That's
need
right.
help. Just so it's things that you have to appreciate in life, the smallest things, and I just want to be able to give some people some insight and some help and, and,
Wow.
and,
Well,
and
you know
show
what
my
you're
story.
doing? You know what you're doing right now? You're writing a beautiful eulogy. And I remember a while ago I gave a small talk and I talked about, you have to, start writing your eulogy now. And so, and of course we're not doing, the right thing for people just to, so people can say good things about us towards the end. But I
Right,
think that that's what you're doing. You're writing your eulogy. And I think
right,
if you're going to have a good eulogy at the end of your life, you have to do something that's meaningful and purposeful. And I think the idea that you take what you've experienced and then you can share that message with others to inspire them so they then can do the same thing is something that I really love hearing. And had no clue you were doing that. I'm really excited about, seeing the final product. I'm sure we'll be doing this type of thing again as well. And I think
right,
that I really applaud you for doing that. And the reason why I wanted to have you on this first edition of a guest of my first podcast, I just explained that whole nest and rope. Um, well, I wanted to have a real person authentically express, what they've experienced. And I think for
right,
me, um, the fact that you're going to take that to the next level means a lot to me. So,
right.
I are there any particular barriers or constraints, what is there something that's really making this hard, or is it something like if you think about, I know you're kind of an independent guy with the barber type work, you don't have to be under the tutelages of some company, but is there anything that's still creating a struggle for you as you think about this journey?
Um, no, the only not really because
Yeah.
I'm just taking it one day at a time, man.
Yeah.
I just I pray a lot. It's God to give me strength. I know I'm not perfect, you know, and I know I'm not going at this alone, and I'm just 10 toes down, man. Ain't no looking back, you know.
that's
And
that's that's inspiring.
I really try to put fear you know, out of my mind, worrying about, all other stuff with blood pressure and kidneys and everything, and just do what I'm supposed to do and what I got to do that I know I need to do that's going to help me better that.
I love it.
That way,
And
so
it's like you're on a journey, but you're focused on what are the habits, what are the actionable things I need to do to reach my goal.
breaking
And then you're
bad
just
habits. I,
yeah.
I broke a lot of bad habits, man, and I never realized that I had bad habits. It's like,
Give me some
you
examples.
have to,
What are you thinking
like,
about? What type
just,
of
I mean,
habits?
bad. When I say bad habits, I'm just like eating bread. I used to love to eat sandwiches. Sandwiches, love sandwiches.
Right.
I love just eating rice and just all the starchy stuff. So it was like, to break that bad habit, like, it's like, okay, it's either your life or the bad habit. What you gonna do? You know,
Right. Okay.
I used to like to
Okay.
drink. I used to like to drink. Have a little drink or two with my boys. We hanging out, we drinking. It's like,
You
yo, we
gave
can't
me
be.
one of the images, and again, for those who are able to go to YouTube or Facebook, YouTube probably be the best bet, and it'll just be protecting your nest episode
Right,
number 2. We'll probably have an image of that. So one of the images you sent me was of you and the guys, with you know, some alcohol in your hands. So
right, right,
now
right.
let me ask you this. Has that been part of what you've cut back on? Because there are some low carb alcohol options, right? So, does this lifestyle change impact your alcohol consumption?
Yes, it did because basically, man, because I used to drink a lot. Not I wouldn't say not a lot, but probably about 2, 3 times out of the week. Yeah, that's a
Right.
lot.
It was just
You know
right.
what I'm
It
saying?
is. But this is the
Yeah,
thing. It sounds like that was part of your culture, though. Like
yeah,
that
that
was
was part
norm
of.
with the crew.
Right, because I'm in the environment. I'm at the barber shop, and we in there kicking it, man. The
Right.
conversations get good, and you like, hey, the bottle come in, you start drinking. The
Right.
conversations get deep, and we
Right.
laughing, and for you know it, drunk 2 bottles.
Wow. That's
Two
amazing.
bottles. Yeah, so it was like, yo, okay, now once I started doing the research, I started seeing like, yo, man, you can't be drinking crazy like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially, and I used to love Hennessy. See, I was in, and I didn't know Hennessy had so much sugar in it.
Right.
So I totally, because I used to get headaches, like hangovers the next day. My head is just like pounding, and and that's what I'm telling you. I didn't have an understanding with the blood pressure. None of that. I'm not knowing what it's doing to my blood pressure. You feel me?
Right.
So it's like, it's crazy. So I mean, I don't drink brown liquor. I don't really drink at all. You know what I'm saying? I drink sometimes. I have an occasional drink. When I have an extraneous day at work or something. I come home, or sometimes when I'm around my family. But I don't. I drink like Patron. I have like a Patron, and I sip a little Patron with heavy water behind it, and
Yep.
I'll be all right.
Yep.
And that's not an every week thing, or so on no occasion.
And I think what's important, like if you go with my training in functional medicine, they would say alcohol is a toxin and you want to minimize it. But I look at it slightly different. And my thing is moderation, right? But we have to
Right,
understand how to define moderation. But more importantly,
right,
they're like, for example, I'm a big fan of the dietdoctor.com. So for those who are not familiar with them, you can go to dietdoctor.com, and if you just Google dietdoctor.com low carb alcohol, you'll get a list of the alcohols that are okay if you're trying to do
yeah,
keto with alcohols. I'm not
right,
talking
right,
about liver toxic stuff. I'm just talking about carbs. So there's a
right,
way to do these things. You just have to
right,
be educated. And that's why using
right,
apps like the Low Carb Manager app or a book
right,
like the Calorie King book, the Carb and
right.
Fat Edition, these are resources that you need to be thinking about. So, a couple of quick questions I want to ask you. I know we're going to
Okay,
wrap up in a moment, but I wanted to ask you about other factors. So, when we think about our nest, we've talked about nutrition, we've talked about
right,
intermittent fasting,
right.
it sounds like you're doing the exercise. We've talked about that. I'm
Yes,
curious about your thinking. That's the T.
right.
The sleep and the stress. I'm curious about where those two parts of the nest are for you. The sleep and the stress.
Well, Actually, I had to go get a bed, man. So I had a pillow top, and I wasn't getting any rest at all. It was like I'm the kind of guy that gets up. I don't sleep because I think a lot, and I'm always thinking, and I'll try to sleep, and I see my and plus probably on the medication, the blood pressure. I think one of them mixed with a water pill, and they have you going to the restroom because I know when you lay down at night, that's when your body go to work, and everything is trying to recover and all that good stuff. And so it was like I couldn't take no more because my side was hurting, and I'm like, yo, man, my side's killing me. I'm thinking that I'm like, yo, I got like a muscle cramp. I don't know, feel like a lump. I think I had asked you that when I was up there. And I was like, he was like, yo, man, it's probably a muscle. Don't even worry about it because the way where it was at. And I changed my bed. I got a firm bed the other day, and
Nice.
I've been
And
sleeping.
it's been
I've been,
better.
yeah, it's been better. I mean, as the progress goes, because as soon as I got it, I went straight to sleep.
Okay.
I took a nap like 2 hours, and I was like, whoa. And my wife didn't really like the bed. She's like, yo, the bed is hard. It's a rock.
Wow. Well, it is a big
But
change and it's
yeah,
again, it's what we're accustomed to, right? So even if it's
right,
not good for you, you just like the way it
right.
feels. And I
But
do want to
that,
mention,
okay.
sorry about that. I want to mention
No,
just quickly that the sleep is critical. And when you don't get enough sleep, and I think that's critical for you, um, the sleep can literally raise your sugars within, like, if you don't get enough sleep in a week, all the studies show that you become borderline diabetic or diabetic within a week if you get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So I wanted to say that out loud because it's important that we don't want to miss the simple things. Like a lot of times we want quick solutions. Sometimes you just don't get enough sleep. If you have bags under your eyes, you're asking a doctor for something to treat the bags under your eyes. They got creams to lighten your skin, but how about if we just get enough sleep and then we can worry
right.
about the bags?
Exactly.
That'll probably get better. What about stress? Has the stress been
Yeah.
an issue for you? I know we just had
No,
COVID, right? You're a barber,
yeah,
you had to close down. That's stressful.
right, right. It was stressful, but I guess at the end of the day, I made it work. I was blessed during the pandemic. Everything's
You kind
went
of got
smoothly.
through it. You survived it okay.
Yeah, I survived.
Unscathed. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have no stress towards that.
That's
Just trying to
what I'm
stay,
talking about.
just trying not to get the COVID. That was the stressful part. But it wasn't really no stress because I wasn't around anybody like that but my
Right,
family.
right. So you were good. Okay.
Yeah,
I love it, man. We're at the hour, so I do want to wrap up. And again, I want to remind anybody who wants to hear more from our friend to find us on YouTube. We're going to do a Facebook Live. We're going to take a little brief break and just introduce Royzell to the audience that I connect with on Facebook and YouTube. So I just want to remind you guys to look for that information. I think that'll be great. I'm also going to get my website going. This is being recorded about a week before I get my website going. It was redone. So you'll see that at drtonyhampton.com. Just spell out the doctor, though. It's the full doctor. And, but one thing I want to end with is when you think about, and I want to just say it out loud, the nest and the rope. We need a rope to go to our nest, and we want to protect both of them. When you think about the elements of that, we've talked about nutrition and fasting. We've talked about exercise, more sleep, less stress, how you think. The other parts of that are trauma. So traumatic things that happen in your life. You could argue COVID is traumatic. Social unrest is traumatic. We talk about the rope being relationships, organisms. That's COVID again. Pollution. Having a bad environment and maybe that flare up asthma. Your emotions being depressed or anxious and life experiences. So if you think about those elements for you personally, what do you think is the most critical for your success right now? What, is it the nutrition? Is it less stress, sleep? What kind of resonates with you the most?
I think it's the nutrition, man. To me, once I changed my diet, I saw results. It was like it's still it's crazy because right now, implementing the intermediate fasting,
Hmm.
that's a plus because I haven't eaten I haven't eaten yet right now.
I know I
I'm
haven't
still
either.
here.
It's about, just so
Yeah.
everybody knows, Chicago time is noon, and your time, what time is it there?
It's 1 o'clock. Yeah,
1
it's
o'clock.
like
Okay,
one.
so
Yeah,
we're right.
yeah,
So,
like a lot of one.
and how do you feel? Are you starving or?
Nah.
Yeah,
I'm not starving. I mean, I'm accustomed to doing it now because I've been
right.
doing it for these past months. And it's like, yo, I do it without even thinking. I don't even, when I wake up, all I do is go straight to the kitchen, give me some water, and I drink enough water. I keep water with me, rather.
Yeah.
And I take my little medication, and I be going by my day. Sometimes I don't eat till like 3 o'clock now.
Yeah.
That's how good I done got with it, you know.
You're my
Yes,
twin
yeah,
now because that's
yeah,
my story. In fact, we're gonna do a, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and we still wouldn't have eaten. So at the earliest you'll eat, it sounds like it'll be about 2. For me, it'll
yeah,
be 1, and even then, you just do it because it's time to eat.
yeah, right,
It's
exactly.
crazy,
Because I mean, yesterday I didn't eat all day yesterday until like about 3 o'clock.
right?
I ate about 3 o'clock, and I ate some wings, and then hey, the rest of the day I think I ate again, and
Yeah,
there was some chicken. It was a hamburger with no bun,
yeah.
because everybody was grilling Fourth of July. So
Oh man, and it
mm,
tastes so good. Like if you're a beef
yeah,
person, I love beef, but
hmm
man, it just tastes just fine without the bread. I just get me
right.
a fork and a knife, and I'm
Oh
good to go.
man, hey,
It's
listen.
beautiful.
Yeah, I do it with the hamburger. I cut up my onions, tomatoes, put my cheese on it, with my ketchup, mustard a little sometimes, or I'll put a little mayo, no bread,
Oh
and
man, you
just cut it
killing it.
up and just eat it just like that.
Right.
Sometimes I just eat it plain, just put a piece of cheese on there and just eat it like that.
Wow. Well, you know what? I knew when I, asked you to come online and do this with me that it was going to be exactly what it was. And I just want to, thank you for taking some of your family's time it's today is a Sunday,
Sunday,
right? and
right,
uh and I appreciate that, and it's just wonderful to know that you're going to inspire other people. So I'm kind of looking forward to what you're going to be doing. You may have a YouTube channel that's doing this thing, you may have a
right,
podcast yourself, or whatever or you may be writing a book, I don't know, but all I
right,
know is that we need more people like you who people can relate to. I love my barber. I love you. And I
right.
think
Love
that
you too.
and if you think about the demographics that have been impacted the most with COVID and other things, a lot of times
Right,
it's communities of color. So we love everybody and we want everybody to receive love. But I think sometimes, particularly black men, considering what's been going on with the knee on neck and all of that stuff that's been going on,
right,
it's nice to know that we have stories to tell that will resonate with
right.
people. So um, I am absolutely thrilled we had a chance to have this conversation, and looking forward to
Uh,
the second
it's
part
an
of this.
honor.
But any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, it's an honor. It's a privilege. I appreciate you, man. You helped change my life. You gave me insight to light, and we need more brothers, doctors such as yourself who's able to and not what I'm saying, not holding back the information that we need as a people to live. To keep us knowledgeable about what's going on with our body and our health, so you can live a healthy lifestyle. And I appreciate you for giving me that. I mean, I came all the way from Miami to Chicago just to sit in
Right.
your presence, just to gain the knowledge that I have right now. that's helping me on my journey. And this is why I'm so successful, because I implemented everything that you told me, and I have all the information. I have your packet. You had everything printed out for me, and it was like, listen, I'm gonna give you everything you need. All you gotta do is, you gotta go off this and make it work. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just
That's
going
right.
off what you gave me. And sometimes when I get scared, or I don't have understanding, or I reach out to you, and you always help me out. So I appreciate that, man. I love you for
Yes.
that, and you're a great brother, and you keep up the good work. And thank you.
Well, those are my love languages, words of affirmation. So I think I got a little love just now. So I appreciate you
That's
for
right.
sharing that. Shout out to the 5 love languages for anybody that's ever read that book. But so we'll wrap up with that. And for all who are listening, thank you for spending some time with us today. And just know that this is something we're going to all do together. And I'll end by just saying, until next time, make sure that you protect your nest. You've been listening to Protecting Your Nest with Dr. Tony Hampton. For more, visit drtonyhampton.com.